You've already lost 3 battles today, and you don't even know it. Someone dismissed your opinion, and you stayed quiet when you shouldn't have. Or worse, you defended yourself when silence would have crushed them. Someone tested your boundaries, and you smiled through it, teaching them exactly how far they can push you next time. You felt something, anything, anger, anxiety, doubt, and you let it decide your next move, instead of you deciding. 3 losses before lunch. And here's the part that should terrify you. Tomorrow will be exactly the same unless something fundamental changes. Most people go through life thinking they're in control. They're not. They're passengers in their own minds, reacting to whatever the world throws at them. Stimulus, reaction, trigger, response. Like trained animals who think they're making choices. Machiavelli spent his life studying power. Not the kind you see in titles or bank accounts. The kind that makes men follow you without question and enemies hesitate before striking. And he discovered something that most people die without learning. The only difference between the conquered and the conqueror is who controls their mind first. Every empire that fell from within. Every leader who was destroyed himself. Every person living in quiet desperation right now is there because they surrendered the only territory that truly matters, the 6 inches between their ears. But you're here, which means some part of you already knows you're capable of more. Some part of you is tired of bleeding energy on people who don't deserve it. Tired of losing sleep over situations you can't control. Tired of being moved by forces you should be directing. What if I told you that everything you think is hurting you is actually just information you haven't learned to process correctly? Betrayal, failure, rejection, chaos. These aren't problems. They're data. The untouchable mind doesn't avoid them. It absorbs them, learns from them, and becomes sharper because of them. The next 7 laws will show you exactly how to build that mind. Not theory, not philosophy. Actionable warfare for your consciousness. Because that's what this is, a war, and you've been losing it by playing defense. Time to learn offense. If you're ready to stop being a passenger and become the driver, say this out loud right now. I am the master of my mind. And drop it in the comments. Law 1. Build your fortress in silence. The loudest person in the room is always the weakest. They scream because they need validation. They argue because they fear being wrong. They explain because they're desperate to be understood. Machiavelli observed something most people miss. Power doesn't announce itself. It simply exists. Think about it. A king doesn't walk into his throne room shouting, "I'm the king." His presence alone commands the space. His silence carries more authority than 1,000 proclamations. That's because he understands a fundamental truth. Mystery is dominance. When you speak less, people listen more. When you explain less, they respect more. When you justify less, they fear more. Every word you speak is a piece of intelligence you give away for free. Your plans, your fears, your triggers. The more you talk, the more predictable you become, and predictable minds are controlled minds. Here's what the strategic mind knows. Silence is not emptiness. It's concentrated power waiting to be deployed. While everyone else drowns in their need to be heard, you sit back and observe. You watch them reveal their insecurities. You study their patterns. You note who speaks from fear and who speaks from strength. And you store that information like a weapon in your arsenal. The next time someone tries to provoke you, stay silent. Let them fill the void with their own anxiety. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them imagine what you might do. That uncertainty, that's your advantage. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." But here's the secret. Fear comes from unpredictability, and unpredictability comes from silence. When people can't read you, they can't control you. When they can't predict you, they can't manipulate you. Your silence becomes a mirror that reflects their chaos back to them, and suddenly they realize you are not playing their game. Drop this declaration in the comments. My silence is my fortress. But silence alone isn't enough. You need the next law. Law 2. Architect your image. Control your reality. Listen carefully. The world doesn't respond to who you are. It responds to who you appear to be. You could be the most brilliant strategist alive, but if you look uncertain, the world will treat you like a fool. You could be drowning in doubt, but if you appear confident, people will follow you into fire. This isn't about fake it till you make it. This is about understanding that perception is the battlefield, and most people lose before they even show up. Machiavelli understood that humans are visual creatures. We judge instantly. We decide someone's worth in seconds. We trust appearances more than evidence. It's not rational, but it's reality. So here's your strategic advantage. If everyone is going to judge you anyway, why not control what they see? Your posture is a statement. Your tone is a weapon. Your calmness in chaos is psychological warfare. Every gesture communicates something. The question is, are you communicating strength or desperation? The most dangerous mistake you can make is thinking truth will save you. It won't. The truth is too slow, too complicated, too easily buried under louder lies. What saves you is presence. Strategic, deliberate, unshakable presence. Walk into every room like you own the oxygen. Not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty. Don't seek attention, command it. Don't ask for respect, assume it. Let your energy speak before your mouth opens. And here's the critical part. Never defend yourself to those who don't matter. The moment you start explaining, justifying, or proving yourself, you've already lost. You've signaled that their opinion holds power over you. A king doesn't explain his decisions to peasants. He simply moves, and the kingdom adjusts. When people try to label you, rewrite the story with your actions. When they underestimate you, let results do the talking. When they question you, smile like you know something they don't, because you do. You know that their perception is just temporary theater, and you're directing the play. Control your narrative, or someone else will write it for you.
And their version won't have you winning. Drop this in the comments.
I am the author of my story. Now, let's talk about the hardest law to master. Law 3. Kill your emotional leash. Right now, you're being controlled. Not by a person, but by a pattern. Someone knows exactly how to make you angry. Someone knows exactly how to make you doubt yourself. Someone knows exactly which words will make you explode. And as long as those buttons exist, you are not free. Machiavelli saw this weakness everywhere. People who claimed to be strong, but crumbled the moment their feelings were touched. Leaders who lost kingdoms because they couldn't control their rage. Warriors defeated not by superior force, but by emotional manipulation. Is the brutal truth. Your emotions are the world's easiest access point to your downfall. Every time you react impulsively, you reveal your wiring. Every time you lose your composure, you show where you can be hurt. And once the world knows your weaknesses, it will press them repeatedly until you break. But here's what most people misunderstand about emotional control. It's not about becoming a robot. It's not about feeling nothing. It's about creating space between stimulus and response. Someone insults you. That's the stimulus. Most people react immediately. Anger, defensiveness, hurt. But the strategic mind, it pauses. It asks, does this serve me? If the answer is no, the emotion is dismissed, like a servant with poor advice. This is what Machiavelli meant when he spoke of ruling yourself before ruling others. The man who cannot control his feelings cannot control his future. Think about it. Two people receive the same betrayal. One drowns in rage and bitterness, making impulsive decisions that destroy him further. The other feels the pain, acknowledges it, then asks, what does this teach me? How do I use this? Same event, completely different outcomes. The difference? Emotional discipline. Train yourself to watch your emotions like a scientist observing an experiment. Ah, there's anger rising. Interesting. Why now? What triggered it? You're not suppressing the feeling. You're studying it, understanding it, then deciding whether it deserves your energy. Most emotions are just old programming, childhood wounds, social conditioning, ego protection. Once you see them for what they are, they lose their grip on you. The untouchable mind feels everything, but is moved by nothing it doesn't choose to be moved by. When you master this, you become terrifying to manipulators. They push your buttons and nothing. They try to provoke you and nothing. You simply look at them with that calm, knowing gaze that says, I see what you're trying to do, and it won't work. That's when they realize you are no longer playing the emotional game. You've transcended it. Drop this in the comments. I observe my emotions. They do not command me. But emotional control means nothing if you don't understand the next law. Law 4, expect the knife, trust the pattern. Here's what will hurt you most in life. Not the betrayal itself, but your refusal to believe it was possible. Most people move through the world with childlike trust. They believe loyalty is permanent. They think promises mean something. They expect others to operate with the same integrity they do. Then they get destroyed, and they're shocked. Machiavelli wasn't cynical. He was realistic. He observed that people are loyal only as long as loyalty serves them. The moment circumstances change, so does their allegiance. That's not evil. That's human nature. The strategic mind doesn't get bitter about this. It simply plans accordingly. Expecting betrayal doesn't mean you trust no one. It means you trust intelligently. You trust patterns, not promises. You trust behavior over time, not words in the moment. Here's the framework. Everyone has conditions under which they would betray you. Your job is to know what those conditions are. That business partner who seems loyal, what's his financial breaking point? That friend who always supports you, what happens when supporting you conflicts with her self-interest? That romantic partner who swears devotion, what circumstances would make them walk away? You're not being paranoid, you're being prepared. The Machiavellian strategist builds systems, not dependencies. He never allows a single person to hold the keys to his survival. He diversifies loyalty. He creates redundancies. He positions himself so that even total abandonment won't destroy him. This is why Machiavelli advised, never trust anyone completely, and always have a contingency. When you expect betrayal, something magical happens. You stop being devastated by it. It becomes information, not tragedy. Ah, so that's where your loyalty ended. Good to know. And you adjust accordingly. Most people suffer because they take betrayal personally, but it's rarely personal. It's strategic. Someone chose their advantage over your trust. That's a business decision, not a moral judgment on your worth. The real question is, will you let their decision destroy your peace? Or will you use it to sharpen your discernment. Start reading people better. Watch what they do when they think you're not watching. Notice who stays consistent and who shifts with the wind. Track who supports you in private versus public. Those patterns tell you everything about who deserves your inner circle. And always, always remember, the people closest to you have the most power to harm you. That's not a reason to push them away. It's a reason to stay alert. Drop this in the comments. I trust patterns, not promises. Now, here's where most people fail. Law 5. Weaponize your composure. The world is a theater of chaos. Everyone screaming, rushing, panicking, drowning in their reactions. And then there's you, standing in the center of the storm, perfectly still. That stillness? That's power in its purest form. Machiavelli observed that the calm individual terrifies the crowd. Why? Because calmness signals control, and control signals superiority. When everyone expects you to break and you don't, something shifts in their mind. They start to question, what does he know that I don't? What's his plan? Why isn't he reacting? That uncertainty becomes your weapon. Here's the truth most people miss. Composure is not natural. It's trained. Every moment of pressure is training. Every insult is a test. Every crisis is your gym session for mental fortitude. The weak react. The strong respond. And the untouchable, they simply observe. Think about this scenario. Someone publicly disrespects you, trying to get a reaction. The crowd watches, waiting to see if you'll explode. Instead, you pause. You look at them calmly. You smile slightly, as if they just revealed something important about themselves. Then you continue your conversation as if nothing happened. That's psychological mastery. You didn't fight. You didn't defend. You didn't even acknowledge the attack as worthy of your energy. And in that moment, you won absolutely, because the person who tried to shake you just exposed their own insecurity while you revealed nothing. Machiavelli wrote about the necessity of appearing strong even when uncertain. But here's the secret. If you appear strong long enough, you become strong. The performance becomes the reality. Your calmness must be deliberate. Control your breathing. Slow your speech. Steady your gaze. Move with intention. Never hurry. Let every action communicate, I am in complete control of myself, and therefore, I am in control of this situation. The world respects the immovable. It fears the unshakable. When you refuse to be pulled into chaos, you become the anchor everyone else tries to grab onto. But here's the warning. Calm is not passive. Behind your composed exterior, your mind is working ruthlessly, calculating, strategizing, planning 3 moves ahead while others are still reacting to the last one. You are the fox and the lion. The fox who recognizes traps. The lion who frightens wolves. Both require composure to execute properly. Drop this in the comments. My composure is my weapon. But composure means nothing without the next law. Law 6. Disappear. To multiply your presence. Here's a counterintuitive truth. The more available you are, the less you're valued. Constant presence breeds contempt. Always being there makes you ordinary. When people can access you anytime, your attention becomes worthless. Machiavelli understood that scarcity creates value. A leader who appears constantly becomes background noise. A leader who appears strategically becomes an event. Your absence must speak louder than others' presence. Think about the people who command respect. They're not the ones desperately trying to be everywhere. They're the ones who show up deliberately, make an impact, then vanish. And everyone talks about them when they're gone. That's not accident. That's strategy. When you withdraw, you force people to confront their dependence on you. They start to realize your value only when you're not there. Your advice seems wiser in retrospect. Your presence seems more powerful in memory. Distance creates mythology. But here's the critical distinction. Disappearing isn't hiding. It's repositioning. You withdraw to recalibrate, to think without noise, to observe from a distance what you couldn't see up close, to regain perspective that constant interaction steals from you. The crowd moves by emotion and momentum. The strategic mind needs solitude to see clearly. You can't read the map while you're being dragged through the terrain.
Machiavelli advised rulers to manage visibility carefully. Too much exposure weakens authority. Too little creates rumors. The balance? Appear powerfully, then withdraw mysteriously. Never explain your absence. Don't announce your retreat.
Simply vanish when you need to, and return when your presence serves a purpose. Here's what happens. Some people won't even notice you're gone. Those people never mattered. Others will reach out repeatedly, trying to understand your silence. Those people reveal their need for you, and a select few will respect your space while remaining consistent. Those are your real allies. Absence is a filter. It separates the curious from the committed, the users from the loyal, the noise from the signal. And when you do return, you return with renewed energy, sharper insight, and increased value. Your words carry more weight because they're rare. Your presence feels more significant because it's selective. The world chases what it cannot have and dismisses what's always available. Start creating strategic distance, not to manipulate, but to protect your energy and multiply your impact. Let people wonder. Let them miss you. Let them realize that access to you is a privilege, not a right. Drop this in the comments. My absence amplifies my power. Now, the final and most critical law. Law 7. Conquer the kingdom within. Every external battle you'll ever face begins in your mind. Every defeat starts as a compromised thought. Every victory starts as disciplined focus. If you cannot rule your mind, nothing else matters. You could master every law I've shared, but if your thoughts remain undisciplined, you'll crumble the moment real pressure arises. Machiavelli's ultimate lesson wasn't about controlling others. It was about self-mastery as the foundation of all power. Your mind is constantly under siege. Doubt attacks, fear whispers, ego demands, anxiety screams, distraction pulls, and most people surrender to these invasions without even fighting back. But the untouchable mind, it guards its borders ruthlessly. Here's what most people don't understand. Your thoughts are not you. They're suggestions. Just because a thought appears doesn't mean you have to follow it. Fear suggests you run. You don't have to. Anger suggests you react. You don't have to. Doubt suggests you quit. You don't have to. You are not the thought. You are the consciousness observing the thought. And once you understand that distinction, everything changes. Train yourself to watch your mind, like a general watching enemy movements. There's a thought trying to make me feel inferior. Interesting. Where did that come from? Is it based on reality or old programming? Most mental attacks are just echoes. Childhood wounds playing on repeat. Social conditioning masquerading as truth. Ego protection disguised as intuition. The disciplined mind questions everything before accepting anything. Machiavelli wrote that the ruler must govern himself before he can govern others. This means establishing dominion over your internal world first. Your thoughts must obey your commands, not the other way around. Here's the daily practice. Every morning, before the world gets to you, Claim your mind. Remind yourself who's in command. Today, I direct my focus. Today, I choose my responses. Today, nothing moves me unless I allow it. Throughout the day, when chaos strikes, pause. That pause is your sovereignty. It's the space where you reassert control. Stimulus happens. You pause. You choose your response. You act with intention, not reaction. Every night, audit your mind. Where did you lose control today? What triggered you? What patterns emerged? What needs to be strengthened tomorrow? This is not soft self-help. This is warfare. You are fighting for dominion over the only territory that truly matters, your consciousness. When you master your mind, external circumstances lose their power. Insults bounce off. Betrayal informs but doesn't destroy. Failure teaches but doesn't define. You become immovable because nothing external can penetrate your internal fortress. The world will still test you, but tests only work on those who haven't studied. You've studied. You've prepared. You've fortified. Drop this declaration in the comments. I am the absolute ruler of my mind. Being mentally untouchable doesn't mean you become cold or heartless. It means you become strategically compassionate, deliberately strong, and consciously in control. You still feel, you still care, you still connect, but you do it from a position of power, not weakness. You choose who gets access to your energy. You decide what deserves your emotional investment. You determine when to engage and when to withdraw. The untouchable mind is not born. It's built. Brick by brick, decision by decision, discipline by discipline. Every time you pause instead of react, you build. Every time you observe instead of judge, you build. Every time you withdraw instead of overextend, you build. Every time you stay silent instead of explain, you build. Every time you expect betrayal instead of denial, you build. Every time you control your image instead of leaving it to chance, you build. Every time you rule your thoughts instead of being ruled by them, you build. And eventually, you'll wake up one day and realize nothing can touch you anymore. Not because nothing tries, but because you've built a fortress so strong, so strategic, so impenetrable, that every attack makes you sharper, not weaker. That's the promise of these 7 laws. Not comfort, not ease, but unshakable strength. Machiavelli didn't teach how to be liked. He taught how to survive, dominate, and rule in a world that respects only power. And the greatest power doesn't come from weapons or wealth. It comes from a mind that cannot be moved, manipulated, or broken. You now have the blueprint. The question is, will you build it? If this message resonated, hit that like button to cement your commitment. Share this with someone who needs to wake up to their own power. Subscribe because this is just the beginning of your transformation. Remember, the world doesn't change for you. You change yourself and the world adjusts. Now go, build your fortress, guard your mind, master your laws, and become untouchable.